You're not going to believe what just happened. This morning, a video began circulating online that shows something so shocking, so unprecedented, that it may change the course of American politics forever. For years, rumors have swirled, investigations have stalled, and the public has demanded answers. But now it seems the truth has finally begun to surface. The video shows what appears to be the arrest of former President Barack Obama, escorted by federal agents, silent, tense, and surrounded by an air of finality. No mainstream media outlet is covering it. No official statements have been released. But the footage exists, and it's spreading like wildfire across social media. Millions of people have already seen it, and the reactions are explosive. And here's the twist. The video didn't come from a leak, a journalist, or a whistleblower. It was posted directly by former President Donald Trump on his own platform, Truth Social, with a cryptic message that simply read, "Now you know." Within minutes, the internet lit up, hashtags started trending, theories emerged, and a tidal wave of public outrage and celebration crashed across the digital world. People are asking, is this real? Why now? And if this is true, what are the charges? Who else is involved? What does this mean for the upcoming elections, for the balance of power, and for the very future of the United States? In today's video, we're going to break it all down, the footage, the context, the possible reasons behind this extraordinary moment. We'll explore how it connects to long-suspected scandals, why it may have taken so long to surface, and what the silence from official channels might actually mean. Stay with us. What you're about to hear could be the beginning of the most important political reckoning in modern American history. The video that has stunned the nation begins without warning. There's no flashy intro, no commentary, no subtitles, just raw footage. Shaky at first, as if filmed from a hidden vantage point, the camera captures a quiet, upscale residential neighborhood in what appears to be Washington, D.C. It's early morning. The light is dim, overcast, and there's a heavy stillness in the air. Then, in a matter of seconds, several black SUVs with government plates pull up to the curb in front of a large, familiar brick house, a residence many have come to recognize as Barack Obama's post-presidency home in the Colorama neighborhood. The doors swing open almost simultaneously. Men in dark suits exit swiftly. They move with purpose, without hesitation. Some wear sunglasses despite the gray skies. One man carries what looks like a folder or document case. Another has an earpiece and scans the perimeter. What happens next is surreal. From the front door, former President Barack Obama appears, flanked by two unidentified men. He is dressed in a casual dark jacket, no tie, but his expression is unmistakably tense. He's not resisting, he's not speaking. But the body language is clear. This is not a voluntary meeting. His hands are visible. But then, at one moment in the footage, one of the men standing beside him reaches behind his back. You can't see it clearly, but many who've watched the video insist this is the moment he was handcuffed. As the camera zooms slightly, we see Obama being calmly escorted down the front steps and into one of the SUVs. There are no flashing lights, no sirens, no visible media presence. The entire operation takes less than 2 minutes. It's clinical, controlled, precise, like it was planned well in advance and executed without a hitch. The video cuts out as the door closes behind him and the SUV pulls away, followed by the convoy. It's just long enough to raise 1,000 questions, and short enough to leave nothing but speculation. Almost immediately after it was posted online, by none other than Donald Trump himself, the clip exploded. It began trending on all major platforms: X, Instagram, Telegram, Truth Social, and even TikTok, where users began reposting slowed down and zoomed in versions, analyzing frame by frame. Some focused on Obama's expression, others on the badges of the agents. Some users even tried to identify the make and model of the SUV to confirm whether it belonged to the U.S. Marshals or the Secret Service. But the most discussed moment is that single silent sequence. The former president walking down his front steps not as a political leader, not as a global celebrity, but as a man under federal custody. And yet, despite the clarity of the footage and the intensity of public interest, no news outlet has confirmed or denied the event. No networks are covering it. The White House has issued no statement. Obama's own team has gone silent. The press, usually eager to pounce on any headline involving Trump or Obama, appears completely frozen. The silence is deafening. Meanwhile, the video has given rise to thousands of theories and narratives. Is this a long-awaited takedown of the political elite? Is it the first domino to fall in a larger operation? Could this explain years of sealed indictments and quiet investigations that never made headlines? To many Americans, the footage isn't just a viral clip. It's confirmation of suspicions they've harbored for years. To others, it's confusing, terrifying, or simply unbelievable. But regardless of what you believe, one thing is certain. The arrest of a former U.S. president, captured on video and disseminated directly by another former president, is an event with no precedent. And still, no one in power is saying a word. As we move into the next section, we'll explore exactly what might be behind this arrest, what the charges could be, what cases might be connected, and why this is happening now, in 2025, after more than a decade of silence. Is this justice? Is this revenge? Or is it something even more dangerous? Stay tuned. As the footage of Barack Obama's arrest continues to circulate, the most urgent question on everyone's mind is, why? What could possibly justify the detainment of a former president of the United States, a man once considered untouchable, revered, even iconic in the eyes of millions around the world? To understand the magnitude of this event, we have to rewind the clock, not just a few months, but several years. Because the truth behind this moment, many believe, has been building for a long time. Whispers, sealed documents, classified investigations, all quietly moving in the shadows of official Washington. And now it seems the floodgates have opened. So, what are the possible reasons for Obama's arrest? Let's look at the key theories now dominating the national conversation. The first and most persistent theory involves alleged abuse of power during his presidency. Throughout the years, multiple independent investigators and former intelligence officials have hinted at covert operations authorized under Obama that pushed the boundaries of legality, including unauthorized surveillance of American citizens, targeted strikes without proper congressional oversight, and coordination with foreign intelligence agencies on missions that never reached public awareness. While none of these claims have ever been substantiated in court, a network of whistleblowers has continued to allege that internal investigations have been ongoing since 2017, quietly building a case that now, possibly, has reached its conclusion. But it doesn't stop there. Another prominent theory centers around alleged election interference, not in 2016 or 2020, but retroactively involving his role in influencing key narratives and digital operations during the 2012 election and beyond. Multiple anonymous sources claim that internal audits within federal agencies have uncovered digital manipulation campaigns and undisclosed international partnerships used to control online political discourse and suppress opposition voices. If true, these would represent severe violations of federal election law and constitutional protections. More recently, rumors have intensified regarding Barack Obama's alleged involvement in a network of private foundations and nonprofits that, according to some investigative reports, may have been used to funnel foreign donations, launder money through consulting firms, and influence U.S. policy through backdoor lobbying. These connections, often dismissed as conspiracy theories, are now being re-examined in a far more serious light, especially after the emergence of leaked emails, financial records, and, as some sources claim, testimony from former insiders who have reportedly flipped. And then there's the theory that links Obama to broader allegations of a so-called shadow government, an informal network of political operatives, intelligence veterans, and financial elites accused of coordinating strategies to undermine democratically elected leaders, control narratives, and shape global events through influence campaigns, censorship tools, and psychological operations. Until now, this concept has lived mostly on the fringes of political discourse, mocked by mainstream media and dismissed as fiction. But the arrest video has reignited interest in these claims, as more people begin to ask whether long-standing suspicions about elite coordination were more fact than fantasy. Let's also not forget the timing. Why now? Why in July 2025? Some say it's no coincidence. With the next election cycle already heating up and public trust in government institutions at an all-time low, this move could be part of a larger purge, a rebalancing of power within the United States. Perhaps this is not just an isolated arrest, but the beginning of a massive accountability campaign targeting not just Obama, but many others within his administration and beyond. Others speculate that international pressure may have played a role. With rising tensions between the United States and several foreign powers, and with classified intelligence exchanges increasing in volume and urgency, some believe that external agencies may have provided crucial evidence, the kind that couldn't be ignored, even by those who have long worked to protect the former president. Still, a third camp offers an even more chilling interpretation. They believe this is the start of a political war, one in which arrests, exposure, and public spectacle are being used as weapons to dismantle rival factions. In this view, Obama's arrest isn't about justice, it's about control. It's a signal that a message, that a carefully staged operation meant to demonstrate that no one, not even a former commander-in-chief, is safe from retribution. Of course, at this stage, we don't have formal charges. No official indictment has been released. But that hasn't stopped the speculation or the belief that something massive has finally begun. What happens next? Will others be brought in? Will we finally see classified documents unsealed? Will this trigger protests, unrest, or further arrests? In the absence of official information, the public is left with only pieces, and those pieces paint a picture that's hard to ignore. No matter what side you're on, one thing is undeniable. Something is happening behind the curtain. And the arrest of Barack Obama may be just the beginning. In the next section, we'll take a closer look at the people and platforms behind the video, who leaked it, why it came out now, and what kind of digital footprint this event is leaving across the internet. Don't go anywhere. As millions of people around the world continue to share, dissect, and debate the now viral footage of Barack Obama's apparent arrest, one of the most mysterious and potentially explosive questions remains. Who leaked the video? This was not a low-level security camera glitch. It wasn't a lucky passerby with a smartphone. This video was taken from a calculated angle, close enough to capture key moments, but far enough to avoid identification. It was released with surgical precision at a time when public interest in political accountability is boiling over. And perhaps most striking of all, the first person to publicly distribute it was Donald J. Trump. Let's begin there. On July 21st at 7:13 a.m. Eastern Time, former President Donald Trump posted the video on his social media platform, Truth Social. No preamble, no commentary, just the 91-second clip and 3 words. Now you know. Within 10 minutes, the platform's servers slowed under the strain of traffic. Within an hour, hashtags like #ObamaArrested, #OhNo, and #ShadowState were trending on every major platform, from X to Telegram to Reddit. And then the real questions began. Did Trump record the video himself? Unlikely. Was it handed to him by an insider? Possible. But many believe there's a far more intricate backstory, one involving classified leaks, high-level betrayal, and a coordinated information campaign. Let's look at what we know, or think we know. Several digital investigators on independent platforms have broken down the metadata of the original upload. While the footage itself has been copied, compressed, and re-uploaded thousands of times, early versions appear to have embedded tags suggesting the file was exported on a secure military-grade device, the type used by internal surveillance teams or high-clearance security contractors. The timecode was synchronized with a satellite timestamp, indicating it was captured using a system designed to operate within coordinated federal operations. This raises the possibility that the video was not leaked accidentally, but deliberately, by someone with deep access to a secure government operation. One theory gaining momentum suggests the footage came from a whistleblower embedded within a federal agency, possibly the U.S. Marshals, or a Black Ops unit operating under a classified directive. This individual, according to anonymous forum posts, had grown disillusioned with the so-called deep state and wanted to expose a decades-long pattern of political immunity and elite protection. Whether this is truth or fiction, we may never know. But the theory has found fertile ground in a population eager to believe that justice is finally catching up to the powerful. Another angle being investigated is the role of foreign intelligence. Several experts have pointed out that the style and delivery of the video, the way it was framed, the timing of the release, and the silence from mainstream institutions resemble the hallmarks of psychological operations or psyops. Some even speculate that a foreign agency, such as Russia's GRU or China's MSS, may have acquired or assisted in the distribution of the footage to destabilize American political institutions. If this is the case, then the arrest may be genuine, but its exposure to the public was weaponized. But if the leak was domestic, many eyes are now turning toward the intelligence community, particularly factions that have long been in quiet conflict with Obama-era leadership. It's no secret that tensions between intelligence agencies and the White House flared during Obama's presidency, especially around issues like surveillance oversight, drone warfare, and whistleblower prosecutions. Could it be that someone within the intelligence structure, now emboldened in 2025, decided to act? Then there's the possibility no one wants to say out loud, that the leak wasn't a breach at all, but part of a deliberate internal strategy, that the video was always meant to go public, that this is only the first of many releases. In this version of the story, Obama's arrest is part of a larger operation being carefully staged and slowly unveiled to prepare the public for more revelations. Mass arrests, tribunals, the fall of a system. In this view, the leak was not unauthorized, it was step one. Regardless of its origin, what's undeniable is that the leak has shattered the silence. It has bypassed the traditional gatekeepers of information, the networks, the fact-checkers, the spokespeople, and delivered an unfiltered moment directly into the hands of the public. And that may be the most important detail of all. In an era where official narratives are treated with suspicion and mainstream institutions are struggling to hold public trust, this leak, whoever orchestrated it, has succeeded in one key objective: forcing people to question everything. Is it real? Why is no one denying it? Why was it Donald Trump, of all people, who posted it first? Was this revenge? Was it part of a deal? Or is something even deeper happening? Something orchestrated across multiple levels of power? Involving people we've never heard of? These questions are only beginning to surface. And the answers, if they ever come, may change everything we think we know about American power, justice, and the true shape of our government. In the next section, we'll examine the eerie silence from federal authorities, major news outlets, and Obama's own team, and why that silence might speak louder than any statement ever could. Stay with us. As the video of Barack Obama's arrest continues to dominate the digital sphere, replayed, dissected, and debated by millions, there remains one astonishing, inescapable fact. The federal government has not said a word. No official statement, .no press briefing, .no denial. Not even a carefully worded no comment. From the White House to the Department of Justice, from the FBI to the Secret Service, the halls of American power have gone completely silent. And that silence is beginning to echo louder than any declaration ever could. This raises a chilling question. Is the government in control? Or is it in crisis? First, let's examine what we would expect in a moment like this. If the video were fake, if the arrest had not happened, if the footage were a fabrication or a hoax. We would expect rapid, clear, and coordinated denials from the most authoritative sources. The Obama Foundation, the Secret Service, the U.S. Marshals, the Department of Homeland Security, and of course, the sitting president's administration. These organizations have communications teams ready 24/7, trained to shut down rumors and restore public trust within hours. But in this case, nothing. Not a single major official has appeared before a camera to address what is now the most viral video in American history. And that has left the public in a state of confusion and, in some circles, mounting panic. Let's look at some of the reactions from within Washington itself. Capitol Hill has been unusually quiet. Congressional leaders from both parties have avoided press engagements since the video dropped. Several high-profile senators abruptly canceled public appearances. One notable example, Senator Rachel Dawson, a longtime Obama ally, was scheduled for a live interview with PBS on Monday afternoon. The segment was mysteriously pulled at the last minute, with only a vague reference to schedule changes offered as an explanation. Meanwhile, a closed-door emergency meeting was reported at the Pentagon the same morning the video surfaced. Unconfirmed leaks from inside the building suggest that senior defense officials were briefed on a developing domestic information crisis and instructed to prepare for high-level media fallout. No further details were made available. At the White House, Press Secretary Melissa Grant postponed her daily briefing without rescheduling. When cornered by a group of reporters as she exited the West Wing, she refused to take questions and was quickly escorted into a waiting vehicle. Even more strange is the silence from Barack Obama's own team. Typically, the office of the former president is swift to respond to rumors, especially when they pertain to security or public appearances. But in this case, no one has picked up the phone. No press release, .no tweet, .no appearance, .Obama's official Twitter X account has not posted since the evening before the video was published, an unusually long pause for a figure with such an active media presence. What could this mean? There are several possible interpretations. One theory is that the government simply does not know how to respond. If the arrest was orchestrated by a sealed federal indictment operating under national security protocols, it's possible that even high-ranking officials were kept out of the loop. In this scenario, the silence isn't strategic, it's symptomatic of shock, chaos, and internal confusion. Another theory is more calculated, that the silence is deliberate, that federal agencies and media outlets were pre-briefed and instructed to maintain total information blackout until further notice. This kind of coordinated silence would be extremely difficult to maintain, unless, of course, it was tied to something much larger, a massive political transition, a national emergency declaration, or a prelude to widespread institutional exposure. There's also the possibility that the silence is a form of containment, a firewall against panic. Officials may be weighing their options, preparing messaging, or negotiating legal positioning behind the scenes. Because once the government confirms or even acknowledges that Barack Obama has been taken into custody, it opens the door to a flood of questions about due process, national security, and the legitimacy of executive power across decades. Meanwhile, the media has played its part. Despite the virality of the video and the fact that it was posted directly by a former president, not one of the legacy networks has run the footage. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all silent. In fact, several Reddit threads and TikTok accounts discussing the video in depth have been mysteriously taken down in the past 24 hours. Is this content moderation or coordinated suppression? More and more Americans are beginning to notice the pattern. The biggest story in modern U.S. history is being met with an organized wall of silence. And that silence is not calming anyone down, it's making things worse. Speculation is rapidly evolving into anxiety. Markets have responded with subtle but noticeable instability. Gold and cryptocurrency prices have surged. Private security firms are reporting a spike in calls from high-profile clients. People sense that something is unraveling, and the absence of leadership is only fueling the fire. Is this panic behind closed doors? Or is it the calm before an even bigger storm? At this point, no one knows, and that may be the most dangerous element of all. Because in the vacuum of truth, anything can grow: fear, rumor, extremism, hope, revolution. Silence isn't neutral, that IT speaks, and what it's saying right now is, brace yourself. In the next section, we'll take a deeper look at the broader implications of Obama's arrest, not just for the United States, but for the global order. What message does this send to the world? How will America's allies and enemies interpret this? And is this truly about justice? Or something much, much bigger? Don't go anywhere. What happens now? That's the question echoing across every dinner table, every message board, and every newsroom that dares to whisper the unthinkable. The arrest of a former U.S. president is not just a national event. It's a geopolitical earthquake. The aftershocks haven't even begun to register fully, but one thing is already certain: nothing will ever be the same. Let's begin with the domestic picture. The United States has long prided itself on the peaceful transfer of power, on legal equality, on the idea that no one, not even a president, is above the law. But what happens when that law turns inward? When the justice system targets one of its own symbols? For some, this moment is vindication, a long-awaited reckoning, proof that the so-called untouchables are finally being held accountable. For others, it's a nightmare, the collapse of institutional trust, the breakdown of continuity, the spark that could ignite something far more dangerous. The political consequences are already taking shape. Allies of Barack Obama, both former and current, are under intense scrutiny. Calls are growing louder to investigate other figures tied to his administration. Names like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, Eric Holder, Susan Rice, once mainstays of political power, are now being circulated in hashtags and message boards as the next to fall. Whether any of them are under investigation is unknown, but the climate is shifting fast. The current administration is walking a political minefield. If they acknowledge the arrest, they risk legitimizing a process they may not fully control. If they deny it or pretend it isn't happening, they risk losing public trust entirely. Already, questions are surfacing about what President Biden knew and when. Did he authorize the arrest? Did he try to stop it? Is he a target? His silence, once seen as strategic, now feels ominous. The justice system, too, is facing an unprecedented challenge. The American legal framework has never processed a defendant who once sat in the Oval Office. Where will he be tried? What laws govern a trial of this magnitude? Is a jury even possible, given Obama's global profile? What if the evidence is classified? What happens if there's public protest or even armed resistance in response to a verdict? Beyond the courtroom, civil society stands on the edge of an ideological chasm. Public opinion is polarizing by the hour. For some, this is the ultimate proof that the system works. For others, it's evidence that the system is broken beyond repair. Protests are being planned, rallies are forming, and underneath the surface, a darker energy is building, a volatile blend of outrage, vindication, disbelief, and revenge. But while the domestic consequences are explosive, the international impact may be even more profound. Around the world, foreign governments are watching closely, some in stunned silence, others with open glee. For decades, the United States has lectured the world about transparency, rule of law, and political ethics. Now, the global superpower is in the grip of its own reckoning. Allies are scrambling to respond. In Europe, leaders are reportedly holding emergency briefings to assess how this moment might shift American diplomacy. In Canada and the UK, security analysts are warning of increased political instability in North America. Intelligence sharing agreements, joint military operations, economic coordination. All of it now exists in a fog of uncertainty. What about America's adversaries? Let's be clear, nations like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea are celebrating. In their view, the arrest of Obama is proof of hypocrisy, the ultimate PR weapon against the image of American moral superiority. State-sponsored media outlets have already begun spinning the narrative. The West collapses under the weight of its own corruption. They will use this event to justify their own authoritarian crackdowns, claiming, even America eats its own. This is not just optics, that it's strategic. As the U.S. navigates this internal storm, foreign powers may seize the moment to advance their interests diplomatically, economically, and even militarily. With American attention divided, alliances could be tested. Treaties might falter. Conflicts could escalate. If ever there was a time to push against American dominance, this may be it. The markets are reacting accordingly. Already, we've seen volatility in stocks, surges in gold and cryptocurrency, and a nervous pullback by multinational investors. Corporations tied to Obama-era initiatives, green energy, healthcare, tech regulation, are seeing share prices fluctuate wildly. Behind closed doors, CEOs and hedge funds are having emergency meetings to forecast risk scenarios that, just weeks ago, would have seemed absurd. Even culturally, the moment is seismic. Media empires are being forced to pick a side, to acknowledge or ignore, to investigate or spin, to stand for transparency or double down on silence. Institutions long thought untouchable, Hollywood, academia, Silicon Valley, are suddenly vulnerable to scrutiny. Was there collusion, complicity? How deep does it all go? But perhaps the most unpredictable consequence lies in the hearts and minds of the people. For decades, Americans have lived with a growing divide, ideological, cultural, generational. This moment may be the breaking point. Some see it as a chance to finally reset the system. Others see it as the moment civil unrest becomes inevitable. There are whispers of secession, of militias, of constitutional crises, of revolution. None of this is guaranteed, but none of it feels impossible anymore. And then there's the question no one wants to ask. What if the arrest is just the beginning? What if this is part of a larger sequence of takedowns? What if we're entering an era where former leaders are no longer protected by tradition or decorum? What if the gloves are off and the age of political consequence has truly begun? This is where we are now, a nation at the edge of transformation or destruction. And everyone is watching to see which path we take. In the next section, we'll look at how the media has responded or failed to respond, and why the silence from legacy outlets might be more than just hesitation. It might be complicity. Stay tuned. And now we arrive at the part no one knows how to write, the end of the beginning, or perhaps the beginning of the end. Because what we've just witnessed, if you followed everything up to this point, is not simply a political headline, a viral video, or another internet controversy. It's a fracture in the illusion. The arrest of former President Barack Obama, whether you believe it's justice served, a political maneuver, or a deep state unraveling, is a moment that demands reflection. It forces every single one of us to confront the story we thought we were living in. Because up until now, we were told certain things couldn't happen. Certain people couldn't fall. Certain lines couldn't be crossed. And yet here we are. So now we're left with a question, a loud, lingering, inescapable question. If this is real, what else is real? If a former president can be taken into custody quietly, without press coverage, without due process that we can see, and without a word from the establishment, then what does that say about everything else we thought we knew? What does it say about power? About justice? About truth? We've lived for years, some say decades, under narratives carefully crafted by institutions, media empires, and political machines. We were told who the heroes were. We were told who the villains were. We were told how democracy works, how law protects us, how elections are sacred, and how systems are stable. But today, that story has been shaken, and that means the story is ours now. This video, this moment, isn't just about Barack Obama. It's not even just about Trump or Biden or some secret faction pulling strings behind the curtain. This is about us, the people, being forced to decide what kind of world we live in. Are we witnesses or participants? Are we observers waiting for someone else to speak? Or are we the voices that break the silence? If you found this video, if it somehow reached you before it was suppressed, you have a responsibility now. Not to believe blindly, not to rage aimlessly, but to think that investigate for yourself, to help others do the same. Because the truth isn't handed down anymore, it has to be dug up. Ask yourself, why are they so quiet? Why haven't they denied it? Why would Trump post it? Why now? You're one of us. Stay curious, stay brave. Like, subscribe, and never miss a twist.